All right. Piali everyone. Namanti momachtiset lenika Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl. Hi everyone. Today we're gonna learn about the dictionary, which is Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl. Okay, so let me share my presentation. Okay, so Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl, as I have told you, it means dictionary. It literally, Tlahtoli means words, and Xitlawa is the verb that means to define a word. So Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl means the definition of words, which is what a dictionary is. So today you're gonna learn how to download three different dictionaries, three uh, three was well three dictionaries, and one of the dictionaries is not something that you could download. It's a website that you have to go to, and I'm going to show you how to use all these dictionaries that I'm going to show you in class. And at the end of the class, I'm going to show you what particular information you need to know um, regarding how to use a dictionary specifically with Nahuatl, because Nahuatl has some very particular things about it that you need to know when you're using the dictionary that you wouldn't know if you didn't. Um, if you don't know enough Nahuatl, you might misinterpret what the dictionary is trying to tell you. And there's some things that you need to figure out and that I'm going to make clear in this class. Okay, so mainly I'm going to recommend four dictionaries, but mainly I recommend the very first dictionary, which is the Personal Lexicon program. That's the main one that I recommend, that if you don't do anything else and you don't download any other dictionary, I recommend that you do Personal Lexicon program. But I'm going to go through Personal Lexicon, Totlahtol Nahuatl app, a mobile app, the Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl PDF book, and the University of Oregon Dictionary, which is a website that you can visit at any time. All of these dictionaries that I'm going to provide to you, they are all Huasteca type dictionaries, but some of them also have classical words. Some of them even have Guerrero words. And so any of these four you could use. I am 100% aware that there are classical dictionaries out there. There's a lot of classical dictionaries. Um, those can be useful in our class, but just know that in the 500 years since that have passed since classical Nahuatl was written, some of the definitions of the words have changed, and some words are not used anymore. So if you get a word from classical Nahuatl, you should be a little bit cautious, just in the fact that maybe that word disappeared, or the fact that a Huasteca speaker may not understand it, or that the definition is a little bit different. But for the most part, if you use a Huasteca dictionary, you'll be accurate. And even with the classical, for the most part, not that many words have changed. Okay, so the first dictionary that I highly recommend is the Personal Lexicon program. The reason I like this dictionary so much is because it has 37,000 entries, and it has words, it has phrases, it has classical Nahuatl, it has Huasteca Nahuatl, and it has Guerrero Nahuatl words. And you could search it in Spanish, English, and Nahuatl. And another useful feature about this program is that it has categories on the side, which I'm going to show you, and it has some of the entries also have sample sentences. Okay, so in order to download this program, you need to go to this website, which I'm gonna link to the YouTube video when I upload this video. But I also, for the people who are watching it, I'm gonna send it to you all right now as a chat, so that you can have the link. So let me see. So this is the link to the dictionary, and then this I'm gonna also copy and paste the link to the PLF file. So copy link and paste. Okay, so that's the link to the um, to the PLF file. In order for this program to work, or for this file to work, you must import it using the program. Okay, so let me see. Let me share the program. Okay. Okay, so this is the Personal Lexicon program. This is a free program. It doesn't cost any money, but the file that I sent you has those 37,000 entries. In order to use that file, you need to go under File and then go to Import, and then that will import the dictionary into your program. If you double click on personal lexicon file, the PLF file, it will not open. It will only open if you go into file import. So you must do that in order for it to work. Okay. On the left hand side, you see that, remember those categories I was talking to you about? Well, here you can find words related to a lot of all kinds of categories. Let's say you want to look into words that have to do with clothing. My friend Jan Garcia went and categorized these a long time ago. So all of these words here are words related to clothing. The section that I really like is the weaving section, because of course it's applicable applicable to me because I'm a crochet artist, and so I look here to like look for new words, because when I write my Nahuatl crochet book, I'm going to use these words. But whatever interest you have, let's say you want to look up the colors, here are all the colors that we know that are in this dictionary. And then these class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, those are the types, these are each of the words that belong to that class. You don't know what these classes mean yet, but you'll learn later that these classes correspond to the past tense in Nahuatl. And so you need to know which class a verb belongs to in order to make the past tense. So if you look at all these words, look, you see there's 37,000 entries. It's not just words, it is also phrases. So, okay, so you see like some of these are longer quote unquote words, but they're really phrases, like this one that says Aka iquitla shotzi. I can't read it because it's being covered. Oh, Aka iquitlaxcoltzin kitlatlamachika. I don't even know what that means, but there it tells you what it means. This is a classical expression. So as you can see, you can type in a Nahuatl word, any Nahuatl word, and it will come up with all the words that contain it. So let's say I type in the word xochitl. So, I don't know why xochitl. Oh, I misspelled xochitl. No wonder. So it doesn't just look for the word xochitl, it looks for anything that contains xochitl inside of it. So you see aka xochitl, alchil, alchica xochitl, aoko xochitl, etc., because these are all different types of flowers in Nahuatl. So if you want to look particularly for the word xochitl, these are organized alphabetically. So you see here xochitl, and then okay. So I wanted to point out that the entries that don't have an underscore under them, like this word xochitl, no underscore, those are all Huasteca words. The ones that don't have an underscore, but the ones that have an underscore C, those are classical Nahuatl words, and the ones that have underscore G are Guerrero Nahuatl words. So you can see Xochitl exists in Huasteca, it exists in classical. The ones that say fixing now, that means that they were incomplete at the time that we compiled the dictionary. So those you don't have the definitions, but you know that Xochitl existed in classical, existed in Huasteca, and exists in Guerrero. So pay attention to the underscore, but if you also don't know where that word comes from, it tells you right here that Ayoxochitl is a classical word. It's a noun, and this Ayoxochitl is flor de calabaza. So this is a the flower of a pumpkin, which I was trying to grow pumpkins at one point during the pandemic, and that didn't happen. But I know that they flower. So apparently that's the name of it, Ayoxochitl. Okay, so essentially you could look up all kinds of different flowers, but not just flowers, basically everything that you want. If you type it in here in the search field. If you want to switch languages, let's say you want to search under Spanish or English, you go under the menu that says view, and then you'll see you see one that says English. You click on the English one. I don't know why it doesn't work. I think that one's backwards. Okay, you click on the English ones to switch, and then now you'll be able to search not just in English but also in Spanish. So let's say you want to look for flower, you type in flower, and then you say, oh, this one only look for the word for flower, but as you can see, you also look for the verb to flower. And so like for something to flower would be in Nahuatl, it would be xochiotia, to change something with the smell or color. Okay. Xochiotia, no, that's not what we're looking for. That's xochiowa. Okay, so in Huasteca Nahuatl, xochiowa means to flower. So that's how you would use that word. And then there's also this xochiotia, give something, to make something have the smell of roses or flowers, or to decorate something with flowers. Xochiyotl. So as you can see, you can find out almost everything related to flowers if you just type in flowers. If you just look for the word flower with noun, you'll find that flower is xochitl. You could also look it up in Spanish. So flor. So you know how on the left it's all alphabetical. So then we have flor. So flor is xochitl, and then flor de agua, flor de arete, flor de calabaza, flor de cuervo, flor de lote, whatever you want to look for. You can find it in Nahuatl. There are so many words here. Um, yeah, and then you can see there's also all kinds of phrases, all these phrases that you can look for. So needless to say, there's so much information that you could find, and that's why I like this dictionary so much, because there's so many entries and then they're categorized, and basically all the other dictionaries that I'm going to show you, pretty much all the entries that are in there are also in this dictionary. So that's why it's awesome. Basically, this is where I go to when I have no idea what a word means. This is the resource that I use. This program does have a mobile application, but I don't recommend the mobile application, the phone app, because it crashes a lot. It doesn't really work very well for some reason. But you can download it with the link that I told you. It's both Windows and Macintosh, so you could download it in any of those on any of those operating systems. So um, don't use the mobile app, even though it does exist. It crashes a lot, so I don't recommend it. Okay, let's see. So now let's go back to the presentation. Let's see. So yeah, use that one. That dictionary is amazing. Okay, Totlahtol Nahuatl. So the personal lexicon file, the program that we used, we compiled that list together, our group, but we also created the Totlahtol Nahuatl app. This means our language Nahuatl, Totlahtol Nahuatl, and this dictionary is a mobile app dictionary that has only Huasteca words. So it doesn't have classic or anything, just Huasteca words, and you could search it in Spanish, English, and Nahuatl. You can download it for iOS in the Apple App Store, and you could also download it for Android. Now, somebody told me that it's not really downloadable on the Google Play app, but if you just Google the word Totlahtol Nahuatl, you will find an old version of this application that you could download and install on your phone. So it is downloadable in Android, just not from the Google App Store for some reason. I don't know the reason. But yeah, if it tells you that there's a virus, that probably isn't. As far as I know, it works perfectly well. There's not a virus or anything like that. Okay, so I said it right here, download it from your respective app store. That only applies to iOS, but for Android, you have to Google the word Totlahtol Nahuatl, and then you'll be able to download it. Okay, so let me show you how to use this application. One moment. Oh God, why does it do that? Okay, so let me show you how to, oh yeah, how to use it. I have my iPad open, so you should be able to see it soon. I have it on my iPad, but you could obviously download it also to your iPhone and your Android device. So where is it? Okay, here it is. It's being shown. Okay, so this is the Tlahtol Tapasoli, the Totlahtol Nahuatl application. So on the top, you'll see that you have two options. You have the Xictemo Ica Nahuatl and the Quitosnequi. The one that says Xictemo Ica Nahuatl, that means to search words in Nahuatl. So you're gonna input your search here. And so let's say you wanna look for the word xochitl, the word for flower that we've been looking up. Okay, so if you want to look up the word xochitl, you should always input the information, but then always on the bottom where it says done, you must click done. The reason you must click done is because sometimes there's entries on the bottom that you might miss. And so here we have the word xochitl. Now the definitions only appear in Spanish, but if you click on the actual entry, you'll see that that not only is there the Spanish version, there's also the English version. Only the Spanish version shows up on the main screen, but the English version is usually always there too, pretty much all the time. One of the cool things that you may like about this application is if you look here at the top, there's a little star. You can favorite words. Like, let's say I like the word xochitl a lot, or I want to remember this word xochitl. Well, you can favorite it, and then it's under here, mo favorito. And so like I added xochitl to one of my favorite words, and then these are other words that I liked in the past. So you can use them. You can use this favorite, so you could refer back to this word, or if you really like a word, like I like the word istlacawia, which means to lie to people. And there it is, to lie to someone. Istlacawia nimis, istlacawia, I lie to you. Okay. Well, but obviously there's a lot of other words that you could look up, and that's one of the it's one of the things that I like about this application. It also has like this exam thing, which I haven't even used, but you can ask yourself. It will basically pick random words in the dictionary and ask you, like, it'll quiz you. Like here it says tlenquitosnequi cualcaña. What does cualcaña mean? Cualcaña means morning, I believe. So I think it's 3 to 5 in the morning, and then let's find out. Oh yeah, I was right. Good for me. So basically, this dictionary app basically asks you like, what does this mean? And so you could like learn, like it's like a little quiz where you could learn new words, new random words, and then on the top you see your score, tixeli, you received. It means that you received. So I received 10 points on the last one because I got it right. Anyways, uh, and then this tells you about the app. It's all in Nahuatl. If you want me to translate it later for you, I can translate it later for you, or you could become an amazing Nahuatl master and then translate it yourself. But anyways, so I really like this app. The advantage of this app is that there's a mobile application, and it's pretty useful where whenever or wherever you are to just like search a word. But this only has Huasteca words. Okay. All right. Let's search another one. Let me share my presentation. Okay. So those are two very useful mobile apps, but you can also download a PDF book called the Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl. I know it's a really long word. And this is a PDF book that you can download for free. This is a Nahuatl dictionary that is entirely written in Nahuatl. So maybe right now that you're a beginner, you may not know enough Nahuatl to use this dictionary. But when you become more advanced, you'll be able to use this dictionary to become more fluent, or to learn more vocabulary by learning the definitions of words in Nahuatl. So this dictionary is only using Huasteca words from Chicontepec, Veracruz, and it was compiled by native speakers and under John Sullivan, but there are also a whole bunch of people that are known in the Huasteca Nahuatl community. And so this is a free book that anybody can download. And one of the cool things about it is that it has sample sentences that show you how words are used. Okay, so you download it by following this link, which let me copy and paste so I can send it to you. Where the heck? Where is the chat? Why does the chat always disappear? I hate it. Okay, here's the chat. Okay. All right, so there it is. Download the PDF there. The cool thing about this PDF is not only is it just a PDF, you can also search it. So if you open it on your computer on any program that can read PDFs, you can go Control F or Command F if you're on a Mac, and you can search for a word, and it will show you every single page where that word shows up. You can also download this PDF into your iPhone or your iPad, and I'm pretty sure you could do the same thing with Android. Just open it up on your PDF reading application, and then it will show you, it will allow you to search it. So let me show you how to use it on the iPad. Let me show you how to use it on the iPad. But of course, I also have it on my iPhone and on my computer because it's very helpful. Okay, so if you have, I have it on the iBooks application, and here's, you can see Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl, and basically this is what it looks like. It is an alphabetically organized Nahuatl book, and so here I have it under I was under the letter X because on the last class I was showing people the word xochitl. So xochitl is right over here. Right over here, xochitl. See, xochitl. So notice that all of it is written in pure Nahuatl. So it says on here, se achitlin setlamantli shiwitl, a little thing that is a type of plant. Achtowi eli mimiltic, at the very beginning it grows, and I don't know what mimiltic means, but it grows something. And then guanteipan cueponi. And at first it grows in some way, and then it flowers. That's what it says. Onca miak itlachiyalis, it has a lot of appearances or a lot of colors. It also means that. But okay, essentially you can see that it shows you the word, and then under the quotes it says Berta Ishochitlawel Yeyexin Pampa we Tlaka Ki Ahatekia. Basically, what's inside those parentheses are the sample sentences, and then also you see what is what is it, this italicized. This tells you what kind of word it is. So we know that xochitl is a noun, we know that a flower is a noun, but this has tlat on it. When it says tlat, that means it is a noun. It stands for Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl, which is the word for noun in Nahuatl. Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl. So that tells you that xochitl is a noun. And if you look above, there are other words like, let's say, xochiti. Xochiti, it says tlach and it says one. So tlach means that this is a verb. So tlachihualistli is what this is short for. Tlachihualistli, if you remember from last class or the class before that, we learned that the word tlachihualistli means noun. And so basically this is telling you, it doesn't mean noun, it means verb. And so this is telling you that the word xochiti is a verb, okay? And it's a verb of class type 1. So like I said, every verb has a class. And so you can see that right here, shochinamakia is also a verb, and it's a verb of class 3. Verb of class 3. And then you see this Nik, Nemo. I'm going to tell you about this later, but basically Nik and Nemo tell you whether this verb is transitive or intransitive, etc. Okay, so that's why you see this Nick and Nemo, and then some of the verbs are gonna say ni on them, like this one that says ni. Okay, so those are the most important things that you need to know about this dictionary. All these words that you see here, there are also inside the personal lexicon, and these are where all the sample sentences are inside that dictionary, where I told you that personal lexicon dictionary has sample sentences. Like the Huasteca sentences, sample sentences, they come from here. So essentially, the personal lexicon program has everything, but I like this book because I just like to look through the words randomly and learn random vocabulary. One of the other things that you can do too is if you scroll up here where it says, where you see the magnifying glass, the magnifying glass is the way that you can search for a word. So if I want to search for the word xochitl, it will show me every single page in this dictionary where xochitl appears. So you see at the very beginning in page 18, there's some kind of sentence that has xochitl. So you should, when you search it through here, you should be looking at only the capitalized, the all caps words. Like you see the word xochitl, kalishpamit, kalishpan, sempowalxochitl. That's where the word the word Spanish word sempasuchit comes from. It comes from the word sempowalxochitl. It means 20 flower. Sempowali is 20 in Nahuatl. So Sempowalxochitl means 20 flower. 20 flor. Okay, anyways, but that's besides the point. uh, the reason I bring up the capital words is because if you want to look for the word xochitl, you're gonna have to scroll down all the way until you start seeing words that are all in caps, like, and that are with the letter X, because then you know you're getting closer to that definition. So like you see over here, I have the word xochiat. So if I was looking for xochitl, I would probably click on xochiat because I know it's very close to the word xochiat. It's very close to xochitl. And then if you see at the very bottom of that entry, there is xochitl. So that's how you navigate it and get to your answer if you just want to look it up with your iPad and not actually search word by word. But of course, since it's alphabetical, you could just go look alphabetically for the word like you do in a regular book. Okay, so that's how you use that dictionary. All right, last dictionary. The last dictionary I'm going to show you is the University of Oregon website. This is the link. Let me copy it and paste it and send it to you. Copy link, paste. Okay. This dictionary has Huasteca and classical words, and they also have sample sentences. A lot of those sample sentences are in classical Nahuatl. So that's one of the reasons you would want to use this if you're doing a lot of classical Nahuatl. You can find sample sentences in classical Nahuatl as well. When you're using this website, your main goal, if you're trying to look for Huasteca words, is look for the EDS definitions. The EDS definitions are the Huasteca definitions. So now I'm going to show you how to use that website. Let's see, let me go. Okay, so let's go to the website. Okay, so here we have welcome to the Nahuatl Dictionary. Okay, I don't know why they changed this website, but it used to be easier to find words, and for some reason they made it more complicated for some reason. Yes, you can search through this. You can search using this main search function, but I don't really recommend it because they made it more complicated than it needs to be, honestly. I don't know why they did that, because this when you search in the general search field, it looks for words that contain xochitl. So it doesn't just look for xochitl, it looks for everywhere where xochitl appears, which is sometimes good and sometimes bad. But if we click on the word xochitl here, this actually doesn't show you the Huasteca definitions. So for our purposes, it's not going to be that helpful to just use the general search. So it says xochitl, and then it tells you the word is xochitl, and then it gives you all these definitions with all these different authors: Alonso de Molina, Francis Cartunen, and Lockhart. These are all Nahuatl, classical Nahuatl authors. And so all of these definitions are classical definitions, which for the most part, they are applicable. But like I told you before, classical Nahuatl words sometimes have changed. And so they're not 100% the same now in Huasteca variety, at least. So instead of doing that, what I recommend is that you go into advanced search by head word, the one that's on the top. The reason that you should pick this one is because this gives you the option to say is equal to. And so when you type in xochitl, you're going to see that it comes up with, I believe this is the classical definition and this one is the Huasteca definition. So let's say you didn't know which one it was. And also notice that it only gives you one word, like the actual word you're looking for, and now it gives you all kinds of craziness. And you can go and do all the other craziness if you want to, but if you want to like keep your life simple, then don't do that and just go to advanced search. And so let's say you didn't know if this was the classical or the EDS definition or the Huasteca definition, you would see that, okay, none of these are the EDS definition. So you would go and you click on the other one, and then you'll see, okay, now this is the EDS definition. When you see this EDS definition, you know that this is a Huasteca definition. Ooh, now I'm just noticing that this is only in this is only in Nahuatl. But basically, these definitions are coming exactly from that book, that Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl. The same people that wrote the EDS definition here are the same people who wrote the dictionary. So that's why this is all in Nahuatl. And if you remember what I read to you, this was exactly the same definition that we had found in that book. So I guess now that I'm thinking about it, if you're a learner, this might not be so helpful, but at least you know that the word exists in Nahuatl, in classical Nahuatl, in Huasteca Nahuatl. And if you wanted to know a little closer to what it generally means, I would probably look up in the classical dictionary. So here you could see it broken down, and look at all these amazing sentences you could like read on your own. Now, the majority of these are classical, but they're still understandable for the most part. Okay, so that's how you use it. And if you just want to like spend a weekend reading random Huasteca words for like, because you want to have fun, you go under EDS, Modern Nahuatl, and you start looking at words for no apparent reason, because you want to kill time and you're a nerd like I am. Okay, anyways, uh, so let's go back to the presentation. Oh, I'm already there. I'm a mess. Okay. Well, clearly I don't need to reshare because I'm already there. Okay. So let's go into the presentation. Okay. So now let's talk about all the particularities or the very particular things about Nahuatl that make it a little bit difficult when you're looking for a word in the dictionary. So let's say you're reading a story and you're like, oh my God, look at this gigantic ass word. And I'm gonna tell you, first of all, you need to get used to it because Nahuatl has a lot of gigantic ass words. So basically, you're gonna run into this like all the time. And what you need to become really good at is you need to become really good at splitting up these words and finding where the verb is. So obviously you've had like 6, 7 classes now, and you kind of recognize some of these prefixes already. So you'll know when these are prefixes and when they're not, or suffixes. But basically, the more now what you do, you'll be able to recognize the parts of the sentence that are here, and you'll be able to split it up and say, okay, I shouldn't be looking for, in the dictionary, you're not going to be looking for ash ni meets on Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl. You're going to be looking for na ash, because remember, ash means not. Ni means I'm doing the action. Meets, you're receiving the action. On, you haven't learned on yet. Tlahtpalo is probably the verb. And yaya is a tense that you haven't learned. So if I was looking at this word, I would be like, obviously I'm not going to look for all of these other parts of the word because they're not in the dictionary. But what I should be looking at is I should be looking at the verb. So right here is the word tlapalo. Now, the more now what you learn, the more you'll know that if this ends in O or ends in I, chances are that that verb is an OA verb or an IA verb. Not always, but a lot of the time. So when I see this, I'm like, oh, it's probably tlapaloa. But I probably would also look under tlapalo, but more than likely it's tlapaloa. So I would not be looking at Ashni meets on Tlahtolxitlauhcayotl. I would be looking at just the verb Tlahtpaloa. The more practice you have, the better you're going to get at it. So essentially, if you look at the form that you're going to be looking up in the dictionary, it's the third person singular, the he, she, or it version of the verb. So like if I was looking for I is a bad example. If I was looking for the word I jump, or well, yeah, that's niwitoni. Obviously, I wouldn't be looking for niwitoni because niwitoni means I am jumping. But to say he or she is jumping, I would just say witoni, which is the third person singular form of the verb, and that's the version that I'm going to be looking for. Okay, so you need to remove all the prefixes: the ni, the ti, the ki, the k, the nech, the mech, the tech, the kin. You need to remove all of those. You will also need to remove te, tla, mo, on, wal, a whole bunch of them that you'll eventually learn, ash, etc. Next week, we're going to learn about te, tla, and mo. But basically, you need to remove all these prefixes before you look up the word, and you'll eventually become good at it. Pay attention when you look at the definition of those words, of the verbs, especially if the action is being done to a thing or if the action is being done to a person. Because in Nahuatl, the verb that you use can change depending on what you mean, like who you're doing the action to. So you need to be very careful. I'm going to give you examples, don't worry. The dictionary also tells you what the past tense form of the verb. If you remember, when I told you those numbers that were in the dictionary, those numbers indicate what class verb it is. Okay, so like I was saying, if you want to say I am jumping, you are not going to look up in the dictionary ni witoni, because if you remember, ni is telling you who is doing the action and witoni is the actual verb. So you're going to only look up the verb witoni in the dictionary, not ni witoni. Do not look it up like that. Last week we learned this phrase niknotza, I call him or her. Ni, I'm the one doing the action. You're not going to include that in the, when you look it up in the dictionary. K is the person I'm doing the action to him or to her or to it. So you're not going to include nik in when you look up this word. So you're only going to look up the verb notza in the dictionary. Okay, nik notza, I call him or her, but you will only look up the notza part. Okay, another example is the word ni temachtia. You haven't learned te yet, but you will learn it next week. But basically, in short, te means that you're doing an action to a person. Now, there are other situations where you use te, which you'll learn next week. But essentially, ni temachtia means I teach someone or I teach people. Either one of those. Okay, so ni temachtia, obviously you're gonna remove the ni, you're gonna remove the te, and you're only gonna look up the verb machtia in the dictionary, and that's where you'll find it. You will also notice that there's also momachtia in the dictionary, but we'll figure out why later. Okay, Ni tlamachtia is another example. This means I teach things. I teach things. And or I teach or I teach things. It means both. So you would only look up machtia, you would remove this tla. Now, tla is a little bit of a confusing one because sometimes in the dictionary tla is part of the word, part of the verb, and sometimes tla is not part of the verb. So in some situations, tla means things, and sometimes tla is already part of the verb. So if you are gonna look up a word, like let's say you're gonna look up the verb tlazotla, which means to love, you may be tempted to think that, oh, I need to remove the tla and just look up sotla. And you could do that, but you'll find that sotla doesn't exist. So you'll be like, oh, maybe it's tla sotla that should be looking at. So in those situations where tla is in the verb, think about possibly looking up the word with tla and the word without tla, and then you'll find the word more than likely. So here we have ni meets tla sotla, which you learned a long time ago, which means I love you. And so I am the one doing the action. So that's a prefix that I'm going to remove. The meets is the object who is receiving the action. So you're going to remove the meets and you're only going to look up the verb tlazotla. Okay, because it just so happens that this word, this tla here is part of the verb. So the whole verb is tlazotla. Okay. All right. If you remember from when I was showing you on the iPad that dictionary, and you remember how there was some that said Nick, some that said me on them, and some of them said Nemo. Okay, when it says Nick on that verb, that means that that verb is transitive. That means that for that verb, you always need to indicate a object. You always have to say who is receiving, who or what is receiving the action, and let's say that you don't know who or what is receiving the action, then you can always put something in there. Those things are either te or tla, but you'll learn that next week. And then if that verb is intransitive, meaning it does not have a direct object, then you're gonna look up that, and then that verb is gonna show up as ni, meaning it does not require an object. So ni does not require an object, nik does require an object. Okay, so example, if you look up the verb witoni, you're gonna see that this verb, when you look it up, that verb right next to the definition, you're gonna see it's gonna say tlachihualistli, it's gonna say tlach, and then it's gonna have ni next to it, telling you that that verb witoni, to jump, it does not require an object. So you can just use the verb as it is. But if you look up the verb nota, you'll find that in that definition, right there, you're gonna see one that says nik. And then that tells you that the verb nota always requires an object. Now here we have the object saying, I call him. So I would say, oh, okay, nik is the object, so I'm okay with this verb, I'm using this verb correctly. But then there's gonna be other situation where you wanna say, well, I call, or I called yesterday. When you say I called yesterday, you're not indicating who you called yesterday, okay? So you're gonna be like, well, what do I need to put inside there in the object? Who do I indicate? Well, I'm gonna tell you that you're gonna put te in there. So if you say ni te nota means I call someone or I call people. So if you're saying yesterday I called, you're gonna just say ni te notza. Nitenotski. Notski is the past tense. So you say Nitenotski, I called somebody. So you're not indicating who, but now what always requires you to say who or what. And if you don't know who or what, you just put te there, or you're gonna put tla there. Tla means that you did it to a thing. So if you say ni tlanotza, you're saying I called things. I called out in general. So those verbs that have nik, if you don't have anything to put in there, you must put either te or tla there. So I'm gonna repeat that to you next week. Okay, this slide I accidentally put there, but basically the ones that say nik, or if they say nik, QU like this, those are also transitive. I just was gonna clarify that because I forgot to put it in the previous slide. Okay, you will also see verbs that are nemo. These verbs are reflexive verbs. So English doesn't have reflexive verbs, but basically reflexive verbs are verbs where you do an action to yourself or a person does an action to themselves. These verbs exist in Spanish like yo me cambio, yo me enojo, etc. I make myself mad, or I change myself. These reflexive verbs in Nahuatl also exist. So that's why you'll see that some of them will say Nemo. And so if it says Nemo, that tells you, okay, I need to use this verb, but when I use it, I must add more to it to make it use this verb correctly. Just like tla, mo sometimes is part of the verb. So like the word for running is motlaloa. So motlaloa means to run. So you're saying ni motlaloa, it means to run. But if you look this up in the dictionary, you're not going to find it under tlaloa. You're going to find it under mo. Majority of the time, mo is not part of the verb, but there are some verbs that it is part of the verb, like mo sewia, motlaloa, mo cuitlawia, etc. So there are some. So you need to know that sometimes you do need to add the mo and sometimes not. Sometimes you need to add the tla and sometimes you don't. If you can't find it in the dictionary, that's probably one of the reasons. Okay. So I told you that you should pay attention when you look up a word in Nahuatl, whether it says that you're doing the action to a thing or if you're doing the action to a person or if you're doing the action in general. So if you remember from all those, that list of verbs that I showed you last week, I told you I was going to only use those 70. Well, if you pay attention and you'll notice that here I have it says to pay is tlaxtlawa, or to pay somebody is tlaxtlawia. So in Nahuatl, there, depending on what you're trying to say, it's a slightly different verb sometimes. So for example, if I want to say I pay, and I'm just saying I pay in general, like I pay money, or I pay, I don't know, I just pay for things, etc., I would just say ni tlaxtlawa, just like that, ni tlaxtlawa. But if I want to say I pay a person, like I pay you, I pay him, I pay her, I pay them, etc., when somebody becomes involved in Nahuatl, you are not going to use tlaxtlawa, you're going to say tlaxtlawia. So if I want to say I pay you, I would say ni mitz tlaxtlawia. If I say I pay him, I would say nik tlaxtlawia. If I say I pay you all, I would say ni mech tlaxtlawia. So this is the verb I'm using when I'm saying that I'm paying somebody. Okay, so because that sometimes is unclear with people, I wanted to show you again on the in the class, in the personal lexicon. I want to show you that there are other verbs like this where it matters what you're saying, what verb you're going to use depending on what you mean. So let's say I want to say to sell something. So if I look up the word sell. Okay, first of all, look, there's words for selling candles, to sell someone's candles, to sell someone's beans, to sell meat, to sell, there's words to sell someone's pigs, etc. And all of these words are slightly different. So you need to be paying attention to what exactly you're looking for. But let's say I just want to look for sell, like just simple sell. Okay, what does it say? It says amanamaka. I don't know why that one's there. Amanamaka. Oh, amanamaka means to sell books or to sell papers. Okay, so see, clearly it depends what you're trying to say. Now what? Where? I don't know why it's not. Huh. Okay, let's do vender. 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 Okay, so notice that here in vender, which means to sell, we have vender algo, to sell something, to sell something. So now what, if I want to say I sell a book, I would say nik namaka amochtli. Nik namaka amochtli. So namaka is to sell something. And because when I say that I sell something, I'm using namaka, it's because it says that I'm selling something. I'm selling a thing. Okay, but let's say I want to look up, I want to say that I sell something to somebody. Venderle algo a alguien. You'll notice that venderle algo a alguien, to sell something to someone, it is not namaka. Even though namaka means to sell a thing to a person, it's not the same thing. In Nahuatl, it is namakiltia. Namakiltia means to sell something to someone. So if I say ni meets namakiltia, I'm saying that I'm selling something to you. Ni meets namakiltia. But if let's say I would say ni meets namaka, which you probably shouldn't say, ni meets namaka means I sell you. Like I literally have you for sale and I am selling you. So obviously I don't want to say ni meets namaka because then I guess you would be like my slave and I'd be selling you, and obviously I'm not okay with that. So you need to be very careful with now which verb you're using, because it depends whether you're doing the action to a thing, you're doing the action to a person, or you're doing the action in general. You'll learn next week that to say I want to sell in general, you would say ni tla namaka, ni tla namaka. Adding the tla says that you're doing it in general. ni tlanamaca. But you'll just like if you saw like in Tlaxtlawa, there are also verbs where it just means to do something in general. Like Tlaxtlawa just means to pay in general. So you need to be paying attention about which verb you use. Okay, so let me stop sharing it, and then I want to say, well, I guess I could show you this more. Fine, I'll show you something. So essentially we're done. I'm done showing you the dictionaries. Next week we're gonna learn te, tla, and mo, which are all prefixes that have to do with who or what you're doing an action to. I want to say tlasokamati miak to everybody who has donated. Thank you all very much. Thank you for all the Patreons. Thank you for every person who has helped me in Nahuatl. Tatotapasoli for compiling all these dictionaries, and all my students who are here and loyal and are willing to learn. I want to leave it up to questions to Tlatlanilistli, and let's stop sharing. All right, let me look through the chat to see if there's questions. Okay, I don't see questions. All right, so I know that lecture was pretty long. Do you all have any questions, or was everything clear?
I wonder if I could ask a question here.
Yep.
I'm wondering if, if this, I know you have classes on other days, and I'm wondering if I don't mind consolidating somewhere else if you want to, have fewer days to teach.
Yes.
We could consolidate. In my view, I could change, but that's a personal choice because it doesn't matter to me if it's Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Got it. That actually, I've already considered that because in my other classes, like on Wednesdays and Thursdays, they're not. There, some people are not showing up, or I don't know if because like the craziness of the holidays or the election or whatever the heck. So not that many people are showing up. So I'm thinking of moving them from like the Wednesdays, Thursdays into the Fridays. So if anything, I would probably keep the Fridays on the same time.
Okay.
So probably I won't change it, but yes, I'm definitely considering it because of course too I've been moving recently, and so like moving and then planning the lessons, like maybe if I have to plan next week's lesson, I don't know 100% if I'm gonna make it on time, but I probably will. But if I don't, well, now you know why. But essentially, yes, I would rather keep it on one day because then I do less work and I have more days to actually get the lesson done. So yes, I would love to do that. And so, but if anything, I would keep it on Fridays. I would not. I would not move the Friday one. Mhm. Any other questions? Was class clear? Do you feel like you can now use the dictionary well?
I've used the dictionary before, so, but
And now you
now I know how to use that personal lexicon.
lexicon.
I used it a few times, but you showing me helped me a lot on how to use it. And also, I've had the uh, Totlahtol
Totlahtol
Nahuatl
Nahuatl.
app, yeah, for quite a while, and that's really helpful. I did not know you could play or whatever, have a like a ask you questions or.
Yeah,
I now that I know it has that, I'm gonna use that to practice
yeah. Just
because I think that's
learn
kind of
random
cool.
words.
Yeah.
Hmm. And then you could favorite words. It does have some bugs, and I heard too that the Android version may not have the same words in there for some reason. I don't know why it should be the same, but it isn't 100% the same. So the Android experience is a little bit different than iPhone experience, but for the most part, it's the same for the most part. Quali. All right. Any other questions? No. Okay. All right. Well, now you know how to use the dictionary. So now you can look up how to say how to lie, how to tell gossip, how to steal, how to be an honorable person, how to say respect, how to say love. You can find all of these words, and also in that classical, when you look up in the personal lexicon, you'll find like classical words, and so a lot of those words, some of them have like gone out of use, but there's so many colorful words in there that I effing love. And some of them I wish they would come back, honestly. Because they're hilarious. There's some of them are so hilarious and so specific. So I highly recommend. Yes, I'm in favor of bringing them back. There's some very good words in there. And you can kind of start seeing how they think, or how they at least, well, you can see how they think in Huasteca from the Huasteca version, but when you go into the classical, you start seeing other things of how they used to think back in the 1500s, 1600s, and it's kind of hilarious. I have to find some of those funny words and like put them into like, compile them into something. That would be cool. Yeah, Edgar says, see you all in the next 80 weeks. I know, I didn't realize it was that many classes, but it is, and I'm committed. This information needs to be out there. Yay, okay, good. Quali. Well, tasquamatimiak imojuantin. Thank you all very much. Timoitase chicuelillo, we'll see each other in a week. Xiyolpaquican, be happy. Xicochican quali, sleep well. Etc.
Tlahtolxamati.
Ashtlen.
Tiase.
Tiase, Matiak.